Ji-won Kim wiped the grease from her hands with an old red cloth. The cloth was so dirty that it barely cleaned anything anymore. She looked at her fingers and sighed. Black oil was stuck under her nails. No matter how hard she scrubbed, it never fully came out. This was her life now. Grease, oil, and the smell of gasoline. The auto repair shop was small. It sat on a corner in Los Angeles, squeezed between a laundromat and a small grocery store. The sign outside read Kim's Auto Repair in faded letters. Her father had painted that sign 20 years ago when he first opened the shop. Ji-won was only 4 years old back then. Now she was 24 and the sign needed repainting, but there was never enough money for things like that. She walked to the front of the shop and looked at the car she had been fixing all day. It was an old Honda with a bad transmission. The owner was supposed to pick it up tomorrow morning. Ji-won had spent 6 hours replacing parts and testing the gears. Her back hurt from bending over the engine. Her knees ached from kneeling on the hard concrete floor. The clock on the wall showed 6:30 in the evening. Time to close up. Her father had already gone home an hour ago. His arthritis was getting worse and he could not work long hours anymore. Her mother was at home cooking dinner. Ji-won would join them soon. They would eat together, watch some television, and then she would fall asleep, tired from another long day. This was her routine. Every day was the same. Wake up at 7, open the shop at 8, fix cars until 6 or 7 in the evening, go home, eat, sleep, and repeat. She had been doing this for 3 years now. 3 years since she dropped out of college. Ji-won thought about college sometimes. She had been studying mechanical engineering at a community college. She loved her classes. She loved learning about how engines worked, how to design better machines, how to solve complex problems. She was good at it too. Her professors said she had talent. They said she could transfer to a university and get a real degree. But then her father got sick. His arthritis made it hard for him to work. The shop started losing money. They could not afford to hire help. Bills piled up on the kitchen table. Her mother cried at night when she thought no one could hear. Ji-won knew what she had to do. She quit school and came to work at the shop full-time. Her parents did not want her to quit. They argued with her. They said education was more important. But Ji-won was stubborn. The shop was her grandfather's dream. He had taught her everything about cars when she was little. He died when she was 15, but she still remembered every lesson. She remembered sitting next to him under a car, handing him tools, listening to him explain how each part worked. She could not let the shop die. It was all they had, so she made her choice. College could wait. Her family needed her now. Ji-won grabbed a broom and started sweeping the shop floor. Bits of metal, old bolts, and dirty rags littered the ground. She swept everything into a pile and dumped it in the trash. Then she turned off the big lights that hung from the ceiling. The shop looked different in the dim evening light coming through the windows. Quieter, lonelier. She walked to the small office in the back. It was barely a room, just a desk, a filing cabinet, and a chair with a broken wheel. Papers covered the desk. Invoices, receipts, customer information. Ji-won sat down and started sorting through them. They had made decent money this month. Not great, but enough to pay rent and buy groceries. Enough to pay for her father's medicine. That was all that mattered. She heard a car honk outside. Los Angeles was always noisy. Cars, trucks, buses, motorcycles. The sound never stopped. Sometimes Ji-won dreamed about quiet places, mountains maybe, or a small town by the ocean, places where she could think without all the noise. But this was home. This neighborhood had been home her whole life. She knew every store, every street corner, every neighbor. The old lady who ran the laundromat always waved at her in the morning. The man at the grocery store saved overripe fruit for her mother at a discount. The mail carrier knew their names and asked about their day. This was community. This was family. Ji-won finished with the papers and locked them in the filing cabinet. She stood up and stretched. Her whole body was sore. Working on cars was hard physical work. People did not realize that. They thought mechanics just looked at engines and tightened a few bolts. They did not know about the heavy lifting, the awkward positions, the constant strain on muscles and joints. She was strong, though. 3 years of this work had made her stronger than she ever thought possible. She could lift an engine part that weighed 40 pounds. She could crawl under cars and squeeze into tight spaces. She could work for hours without stopping. Her grandfather would be proud. Ji-won walked to the front door and grabbed her jacket. It was November and the evenings were getting cold. She put on the jacket and picked up her keys. Time to go home. Her mother's cooking would be ready. Probably rice soup and some vegetables. Maybe a little meat if they were lucky. Simple food, but her mother made it taste good. She stepped outside and locked the shop door. The metal gate came down with a loud clang. She secured it with a padlock and tested it twice to make sure it was locked tight. Crime was not terrible in this neighborhood, but you could never be too careful. The street was busy with people coming home from work. Cars drove past slowly in the traffic. A group of teenagers walked by laughing and talking. An old man pushed a shopping cart full of cans and bottles. Normal city life. Ji-won started walking toward her car. It was parked right in front of the shop, an old Toyota that barely ran. She had fixed it herself many times. It needed new brakes soon. That would cost money they did not have, but she would figure it out. She always did. That was when she noticed the smoke. It was coming from across the street, from the apartment building. At first, Ji-won thought someone was just cooking. Sometimes smoke came from windows when people burned their food. But this smoke was different. It was thick and black. Too much smoke for cooking. She stopped walking and stared at the building. More smoke poured out of a ground floor window. Then she saw orange light flickering inside. Fire. There was a fire in that apartment. Ji-won's heart started beating faster. She looked around. Other people had noticed too. A woman on the sidewalk was pointing and shouting. A man was talking on his phone, probably calling 911. Everyone was just standing there watching. Then Ji-won heard it. A scream. Someone was screaming inside that apartment. A voice calling for help. The sound made her blood run cold. She did not think. She just moved. Her feet carried her across the street, running toward the burning building. People shouted at her to stop, to wait for the firefighters. But she did not listen. Someone was in there. Someone needed help, and every second mattered. Ji-won ran across the street without looking at the traffic. A car honked at her, brakes screeching. She did not care. The apartment building was right in front of her now. Smoke poured out of a window on the ground floor. The glass was already cracked from the heat. Orange flames danced inside, growing bigger every second. The screaming was louder now. It was a man's voice, old and weak. He was calling for help over and over. The sound made Ji-won's chest tight. She had to do something. She could not just stand there and watch someone die. She ran back toward her shop. Her hands shook as she unlocked the gate and rolled it up just enough to squeeze under. Inside, she grabbed a heavy wrench from her toolbox. Then she saw the fire extinguisher hanging on the wall. She grabbed that too. The extinguisher was red and heavy, meant for small engine fires. She had no idea if it would help with a real apartment fire, but it was better than nothing. Ji-won ran back to the burning building. More people had gathered on the sidewalk now. They stood in a group watching and waiting. Some were recording videos on their phones. Others were talking, telling each other what to do, but no one was actually doing anything. A middle-aged woman grabbed Ji-won's arm. "Do not go in there! The firefighters are coming." Ji-won pulled her arm free. "There is someone inside."
"I can hear him. You will die."
"Wait for help." But Ji-won was not waiting. She ran to the window where the smoke was coming from. The heat hit her face like a slap. It was so hot she could barely breathe. She lifted the wrench and smashed it against the window. The cracked glass shattered into pieces. Smoke rushed out, thick and black, filling her lungs. She coughed hard, her eyes watering. She pulled her jacket over her mouth and nose. It did not help much. The smoke was everywhere. She could barely see 2 feet in front of her, but she could still hear the screaming. It was coming from deeper inside the apartment. Ji-won climbed through the broken window. Her hands landed on broken glass. Pain shot through her palms, but she kept moving. She could feel the heat all around her. The fire was in the kitchen area. She could see the flames spreading across the walls, eating the old wallpaper, climbing toward the ceiling. "Where are you?" Ji-won shouted. Her voice sounded strange and muffled through the jacket covering her mouth. "Here. I am here. Help me." She followed the voice. Her eyes burned from the smoke. Tears ran down her face. She stumbled forward, hitting furniture she could not see. Her shin crashed into something hard. A coffee table, maybe. She fell to her knees but got back up. The heat was getting worse. Sweat poured down her face. Her jacket felt like it was cooking her alive, but she could not take it off. She needed it to breathe. Then she saw him. An old man was lying on the floor near the hallway. He was trying to crawl toward the door, but his legs were not working. He looked up at Ji-won with terrified eyes. His face was covered in soot. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead. "I fell," he gasped. "I cannot get up. My legs." Ji-won dropped the fire extinguisher and fell to her knees beside him. "I am going to get you out. Put your arm around my neck." The man was heavy, much heavier than she expected. But Ji-won had spent 3 years lifting car parts and engine blocks. Her arms were strong. Her back was strong. She grabbed the man under his arms and started dragging him toward the window. Every step was agony. The smoke was so thick she could not see where she was going. She just moved toward where she thought the window was. Her lungs screamed for clean air. Her eyes felt like they were full of sand. The heat was unbearable. She could feel her skin burning on her arms where the jacket had ridden up. The man was coughing violently. His body shook with each cough. Ji-won was afraid he would pass out. If he passed out, he might stop breathing. She had to move faster. She crashed into a wall. Wrong direction. She turned and tried again. Where was the window? Everything looked the same in the smoke. Dark and terrifying. Then she saw it. A rectangle of lighter gray in the darkness. The window. Fresh air coming in from outside. She dragged the man toward it with the last of her strength. "Help! Someone help me!" She shouted toward the window. Hands reached through from outside. People she could not see clearly. They grabbed the old man's arms and shoulders. Ji-won pushed from behind, lifting him up. Together they got him through the window. His body disappeared into the crowd of people outside. Ji-won tried to follow. She put her hands on the window frame to pull herself up. That was when she realized how badly she was hurt. Her palms were cut from the broken glass. Her arms were covered in burns. The pain hit her all at once and she almost blacked out. Strong hands grabbed her and pulled her through the window. She fell onto the sidewalk outside. The cool air hit her face. She gulped it down, coughing and gasping. Her whole body shook. She could not stop coughing. Someone was pouring water on her arms. The pain was so intense she almost screamed. She looked down and saw her skin was red and blistered. 2nd-degree burns at least. Maybe worse, sirens filled the air. Fire trucks arrived, their red lights flashing. Firefighters jumped out and started spraying water on the building. An ambulance pulled up right behind them. Paramedics ran toward Ji-won and the old man with stretchers and medical bags. A paramedic, a young woman with kind eyes, knelt beside Ji-won. "Can you hear me? What is your name?" "Ji-won," she managed to say. Her voice was hoarse and rough. "Ji-won Kim. Ji-won, you are going to be okay. We are taking you to the hospital. You have burns and smoke inhalation. Do not try to talk," Ji-won nodded. She watched as other paramedics worked on the old man. They had an oxygen mask on his face. His eyes were closed. She hoped he was alive. She hoped she had gotten to him in time. They lifted her onto a stretcher. The movement made her arms scream with pain. She bit her lip to keep from crying out. She would not cry. She had done what needed to be done. Someone was alive because of her. That was all that mattered. As they loaded her into the ambulance, Ji-won saw her parents running down the street. Her mother was crying. Her father was limping on his bad knees, moving as fast as he could. Someone must have called them. "Mom, Dad, I am okay." Ji-won tried to shout, but her voice barely worked. The paramedic closed the ambulance doors. The last thing Ji-won saw was her mother's face, twisted with worry and fear. Then the ambulance was moving, sirens wailing, rushing her to the hospital. Ji-won closed her eyes. Her whole body hurt. Her lungs felt like they were full of fire. Her arms throbbed with pain. But she was alive. And so was that old man. She had saved him. She had actually saved someone's life. In the chaos and pain and fear, Ji-won felt something else. Something she had not felt in a long time. Pride. Not the proud feeling of finishing a hard job at the shop. Not the satisfaction of fixing a complicated engine. This was different. Deeper. She had run into a burning building when everyone else just watched. She had risked her own life to save a stranger. She had not thought about it. She had not planned it. She had just done what felt right. As the ambulance raced through the Los Angeles streets, Ji-won thought about her grandfather. He had always told her that fixing cars was about helping people. When someone's car broke down, they could not get to work, could not take their kids to school, could not live their life. Fixing cars meant helping people live better. But this was different. This was not about cars. This was about life and death. The paramedic checked her pulse and adjusted the oxygen mask on her face. "You are very brave," she said quietly. "What you did back there, not many people would have done that." Jiwon did not feel brave. She felt scared and hurt and tired. But maybe that was what bravery really was, being scared and doing it anyway. Jiwon woke up in a hospital bed. White walls, white ceiling, white sheets. Everything was too bright. She squinted against the light and tried to sit up. Pain shot through her arms immediately. She gasped and fell back against the pillow. A nurse appeared at her bedside. She was older, with gray hair and a warm smile. "Easy now. Do not try to move too much. Your arms are badly burned." Jiwon looked down at her arms. They were wrapped in thick white bandages from her wrist to her elbows. She could see dark red stains seeping through in some places. The pain was constant, a deep burning that made her want to cry. "The old man," Jiwon croaked. Her throat felt like sandpaper. "Is he alive?" The nurse poured water into a plastic cup and held it to Jiwon's lips. "Drink slowly." "Yes, he is alive. He is in another room. He has smoke inhalation and a broken ankle from his fall. But he will recover, thanks to you." Relief flooded through Jiwon. She had saved him. He was alive. The pain in her arms suddenly felt worth it. "Your parents are in the waiting room," the nurse said. "They have been here all night. Should I let them in?" Jiwon nodded. A moment later, her mother rushed through the door. Her face was swollen from crying. Her father followed, moving slowly on his bad knees. He looked like he had aged 10 years overnight. Her mother grabbed Jiwon's hand, careful not to touch the bandages. She spoke rapidly in Korean, words tumbling over each other. My baby, what were you thinking? You could have died. Why did you do that? You scared us so much." "I am okay, Mom, I am okay." Her father sat in the chair beside the bed. He did not say anything for a long moment. He just looked at Jiwon with an expression she could not read. Then he reached out and gently touched her hair. "You are brave," he said quietly. "So brave. But never do that again. We cannot lose you." Jiwon felt tears sliding down her cheeks. She had not meant to make them worry. She had just done what felt right in the moment. The doctor came in an hour later. He was young, maybe 30, with tired eyes. He examined Jiwon's arms carefully, unwrapping the bandages to check the burns. Jiwon gritted her teeth against the pain. "Second-degree burns on both forearms," the doctor said. "Some areas might be borderline third degree. You will need to keep these bandaged and change the dressings daily. No infection so far, which is good. Your lungs also have some damage from smoke inhalation. You will need to rest for at least 2 weeks. No physical work, 2 weeks. Jiwon's heart sank. The shop could not close for 2 weeks. They would lose customers. They would lose money. Her father could not run it alone with his arthritis. "I have to work," Jiwon said. "My family needs me." The doctor shook his head firmly. "If you use your arms too much, these burns will not heal properly. You could develop serious infections. You could do permanent damage. You need to rest." After the doctor left, Jiwon's parents assured her they would figure something out. They would hire temporary help. They would make it work. But Jiwon could see the worry in their eyes. Money was always tight. Hiring someone would eat into their small savings. That afternoon, Jiwon had several visitors. First came Mr. Rodriguez's family. That was the old man she had saved. His daughter Maria was about 40 years old with kind eyes. She held Jiwon's hand and cried as she thanked her. "My father is everything to me. You gave him back to us. How can we ever repay you?" Jiwon did not know what to say. She had not done it for thanks or reward. She had just done it because someone needed help. Maria told her that her father had been trapped in the apartment when his stove caught fire. He had been cooking and left the oil too long. The flames spread fast. When he tried to run, he tripped and fell. His ankle broke in the fall. He could not get up. If Jiwon had not come when she did, he would have died. "He wants to meet you," Maria said. "When you are feeling better, he wants to thank you himself." The next visitors were reporters. 2 of them showed up with cameras and microphones. The nurse tried to turn them away, but Jiwon's mother let them in. She was proud of her daughter. She wanted the world to know what Jiwon had done. The reporters asked questions. "How did you feel when you saw the fire? Were you scared? What made you run in when everyone else stayed out? Did you think you might die?" Jiwon answered as best she could. Yes, she was scared. No, she did not think about dying. She just heard someone screaming and knew she had to help. It was not complicated. It was not heroic. It was just what any decent person would do. But the reporters made it sound like she was some kind of superhero. They kept using words like brave and fearless and heroic. They took photos of her in the hospital bed with her bandaged arms. They asked about her life, her family, her work at the shop. That evening, the story aired on the local news. Ji-won's parents watched it on the small television in her hospital room. The reporter stood in front of Kim's auto repair and told Ji-won's story. A young mechanic put her own life at risk to save a stranger from a burning building. Ji-won Kim, 24 years old, ran into flames while others stood by. Thanks to her courage, 73-year-old Carlos Rodriguez is alive today. They showed footage of the burned apartment building. They showed photos of Ji-won at work in the shop, covered in grease, smiling at the camera. They interviewed neighbors who said Ji-won was always helping people, always friendly, always working hard. Ji-won felt embarrassed watching it. She did not like all the attention. She was just a mechanic. She fixed cars. This was not who she was, but her mother was crying with pride. Her father sat up straighter in his chair. They watched the news report 3 times. Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. People started showing up at the hospital with flowers and cards. Strangers who had seen the news wanted to meet her and thank her. Some brought gifts. Others just wanted to shake her hand and tell her she was an inspiration. The hospital room filled with flower arrangements. Roses, lilies, carnations. The smell was overwhelming. Cards covered every surface. Thank you for being brave. You are a hero. The world needs more people like you. Ji-won did not feel like a hero. She felt like a mechanic with burned arms who could not work. On her 4th day in the hospital, something even stranger happened. The shop phone rang. Her mother answered it. She listened for a moment, then her eyes went wide. She covered the phone with her hand and whispered to Ji-won, "Someone wants to meet you." "Someone important? Who?" Ji-won asked. They would not say. Just that they want to meet you to express gratitude. They want you to come to a coffee shop when you are released from the hospital. Ji-won frowned. Probably just another reporter. They said it is not for an interview. They said it is personal, Ji-won shrugged. Okay, I will go. Her mother gave the caller an answer. When she hung up, she looked confused. That was strange. They were very secretive, but they said it is important. Ji-won did not think much about it. She was tired of all the attention. She just wanted to go home, heal, and get back to work. The shop had been closed for 4 days now. They were losing money every day. Her father could not handle the work alone, but when customers heard about what happened, they started calling to offer support. One man offered to work for free for a week. He was a retired mechanic who had seen the news. Others called to say they would wait for Ji-won to recover. They did not want anyone else working on their cars. The support was overwhelming. Ji-won had lived in this neighborhood her whole life, but she never realized how many people knew her. How many people cared. On her 6th day in the hospital, the doctor said she could go home. Her burns were healing well. No infection. She still needed to change the bandages daily and take pain medication, but she could recover at home. Her parents took her back to their small apartment above the shop. The building looked normal from the outside, but across the street, the burned apartment was covered in caution tape. The windows were black with soot. The smell of smoke still hung in the air. Ji-won looked at it and shivered. She had been inside that building. She could have died in there. The reality of it hit her hard. That night, she could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw flames. She felt the heat. She heard the screaming. Her arms throbbed with pain despite the medication, but she also thought about Mr. Rodriguez. He was alive because of her. His daughter had her father because of her. That had to mean something. That had to be worth the pain and fear. 2 days later, Ji-won got dressed for the mysterious meeting at the coffee shop. She wore clean jeans and a simple shirt. Her arms were still bandaged, hidden under long sleeves. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. She looked tired, older, changed. The coffee shop was in a part of Los Angeles that Ji-won rarely visited. It was in a nicer neighborhood where the buildings were clean and new, where people wore expensive clothes and drove luxury cars. Ji-won felt out of place the moment she walked in. The shop had high ceilings and modern furniture. Everything was white and chrome. Soft music played in the background. People sat at small tables typing on laptops or talking quietly. The smell of expensive coffee filled the air. Ji-won approached the counter. A young man with a man bun and a perfectly trimmed beard smiled at her. "What can I get you?" "I am here to meet someone," Ji-won said. "They called me?" The man's smile grew wider. "Oh, you must be Ji-won. Yes, they are waiting for you. Follow me." He led her past the main seating area to a private section in the back. There were curtains separating it from the rest of the shop. The man pulled the curtain aside and gestured for her to enter. Ji-won stepped through and froze. Sitting at a table was Vin Diesel. The actual Vin Diesel. The movie star. The Fast and Furious guy. He was bigger in person, more solid, with the same bald head and intense eyes she had seen in dozens of movies. Her mouth fell open. She could not speak. This had to be a mistake. Vin Diesel stood up and smiled. It was a genuine smile, warm and friendly. "Ji-won, I'm so glad you could come. Please, sit down." Ji-won's legs felt like rubber. She stumbled to the chair across from him and sat down slowly. Her mind was racing. Why was Vin Diesel here? Why did he want to meet her? This made no sense. "I know you must be confused," Vin Diesel said, sitting back down. "I am sorry for the mystery. I just wanted to meet you in person without cameras and reporters everywhere." "I do not understand," Ji-won managed to say. Her voice sounded small and far away. Vin Diesel leaned forward. "Carlos Rodriguez is the uncle of one of my stunt coordinators. His name is Miguel. Miguel has worked with me for 15 years. He is family to me. When Miguel called and told me what happened, told me how you saved his uncle's life, I knew I had to meet you." Ji-won blinked. "Miguel is your stunt coordinator?" "Yes, and Carlos is like a father to him. Carlos raised Miguel after Miguel's parents died. So when I say Carlos is important to Miguel, I mean he is everything, and you saved him." Ji-won did not know what to say. She looked down at her bandaged arms hidden under her sleeves. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Vin Diesel said firmly. "That is not true." Dozens of people stood outside that building. They all saw the fire. They all heard the screaming. But only you ran inside. Only you risked everything. That is not what everyone would do. That is what a hero does. Ji-won shook her head.
I am not a hero.
"I'm just a mechanic." "Tell me about that," Vin Diesel said. "Tell me about your life," so Ji-won told him. She told him about the shop, about her parents, about her grandfather who taught her everything. She told him about dropping out of college to help her family. She told him about the long days and the hard work and the constant worry about money. Vin Diesel listened without interrupting. He nodded at certain parts. His eyes showed real interest, real caring. It did not feel like he was just being polite. It felt like he actually wanted to know about her life. "You gave up your education to save your family's business," he said when she finished. "That takes courage too. Different kind of courage, but just as real." "I did not have a choice," Ji-won said. "There is always a choice. You chose family. You chose sacrifice. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are." He paused and took a sip of his coffee. "Miguel told me you were studying mechanical engineering?" "Yes, at a community college. I wanted to transfer to a university, but..." She shrugged. "Life happened. Do you still want to finish your degree?" Ji-won felt a lump in her throat. "Of course, but it is not possible. The shop needs me. My parents need me. Maybe someday when they are more stable, but not now." Vin Diesel was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be thinking about something. Then he looked directly at her with those intense eyes. "What if I told you it could be possible? What if I told you that you could finish your degree and keep helping your family?" Ji-won laughed, but it came out bitter. "That would be nice. But education costs money, and I need to work at the shop every day. There are not enough hours. What if someone paid for your education? Online classes so you could study at night after work?" Ji-won stared at him. "What are you saying?" "I am saying I want to help you. You saved someone I care about. You showed courage that most people never find in their whole life. You deserve a chance to achieve your dreams." "I cannot accept charity," Ji-won said quickly. "I do not need pity." Vin Diesel's expression turned serious. "This is not pity. This is gratitude. Do you know why I make movies? Why I do what I do?" Ji-won shook her head. "Because I want to inspire people. I want to show them that family matters, that loyalty matters, that courage matters. My movies are about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. But you actually did it. You lived it. You ran into fire to save a stranger. You gave up your dreams to help your parents. You are the person my movies are about. Tears filled Jiwon's eyes. She tried to blink them back, but they spilled down her cheeks anyway. I do not know what to say. Say yes. Let me help you. Not because you need charity, but because what you did matters. Because people like you should be rewarded, not forgotten. I just wanted to help someone, Jiwon whispered. I know. That is exactly why you deserve help in return. They talked for another hour. Vin Diesel asked about her dreams, her goals, what she wanted to study. He asked about the shop, about what it needed to be more successful. He asked about her parents and their health. Jiwon found herself opening up in ways she never had before. Maybe it was because he was a stranger. Maybe it was because he actually seemed to care. Or maybe it was because, for the first time in 3 years, someone was asking her what she wanted instead of what she could give. When the conversation slowed, Vin Diesel pulled out his phone. I want to show you something. I have been thinking about how to help you. And I came up with a plan. He showed her his phone screen. There was an email from a university. This is a scholarship fund I set up. It will pay for your online mechanical engineering degree. Complete tuition. You can study at night at your own pace. Jiwon's hands shook as she read the email.
This is real?
Yes, and there is more. More? Vin Diesel smiled. Your shop needs equipment, right? New tools, maybe some renovations to bring in more customers. We cannot afford any of that. What if I invest in the shop? Not as charity, but as a real investment. I will provide money to upgrade your equipment and fix the building. In return, your shop will be listed as a partner with my production company. When we film in Los Angeles, we will use your shop for vehicle work. Jiwon felt dizzy. Your production company? I produce movies, not just act in them. And movies need vehicles. Lots of vehicles. Cars that need modification, maintenance, custom work. Your shop could handle some of that. It would bring you steady business and good money. I do not understand why you would do this, Jiwon said. Her voice cracked. You do not even know me. Vin Diesel reached across the table and gently touched her bandaged arm. I know enough. I know you are brave. I know you are loyal. I know you care more about others than yourself. That is rare. That is special. And I have been where you are. What do you mean? I struggled for years before I made it as an actor. I was broke, sleeping in my car sometimes. People helped me when I needed it. People gave me chances I did not deserve. Now I am in a position to help others. Why would I not do that? But you do not owe me anything, Jiwon said. Yes, I do. You saved Miguel's uncle. Miguel is family. That makes Carlos family. That makes you family now, too. Jiwon started crying in earnest now. She could not help it. All the stress, all the fear, all the exhaustion from the last week came pouring out. But these were not sad tears. These were tears of hope. Vin Diesel did not seem bothered by her crying. He just pushed a box of tissues across the table and waited patiently. When Jiwon finally composed herself, she wiped her eyes and looked at him. Why are you really doing this? He smiled. Because the world needs more people like you. And people like you should not have to sacrifice everything. You should get to have dreams too. Jiwon sat in stunned silence. Her mind could not process what was happening. A scholarship. An investment in the shop. Partnership with a movie production company. It felt like a dream. Like something that happened to other people, not to her. I need to think, she said quietly. This is so much. I need to talk to my parents, of course, Vin Diesel said. Take all the time you need. But I want you to know this is real. I am not joking. I am not trying to trick you. I genuinely want to help. Can I ask you something? Jiwon said. Anything. Do you do this for everyone? Help random people like this? Vin Diesel thought for a moment. I help when I can. I donate to charities. I support causes I believe in. But this is different. This is personal. Miguel's uncle means something to me. And what you did running into that fire, it reminded me why I love making the movies I make. You lived the values I try to show on screen. He pulled out a business card and slid it across the table. This is my assistant's number. Call her when you have decided. Or if you have questions, or if you just want to talk. No pressure. Jiwon took the card with shaking hands. It was simple, just a name and phone number. But it felt heavy, like it represented something bigger than just a piece of paper. There is one more thing, Vin Diesel said. Would you mind if I visited your shop? I would like to meet your parents, and I want to see the place where you work. You want to come to my shop? Ji-won could not believe it. It is not fancy. It is small and dirty, and that is exactly why I want to see it. Fancy is easy. Real is harder to find. They set a time for the next day. Vin Diesel would come to the shop in the afternoon. He wanted to meet her parents and see what the shop needed. He wanted to understand the business before investing. As they stood to leave, Vin Diesel pulled Ji-won into a gentle hug. He was careful not to squeeze her injured arms. "Thank you for saving Carlos," he said softly. "You gave a family their father back. That means everything." Ji-won could not speak. She just nodded against his shoulder. The ride home felt surreal. Ji-won sat in the back of an Uber, staring out the window at the Los Angeles streets. Had that really just happened? Had she really just met Vin Diesel? Had he really just offered to change her entire life? She kept touching the business card in her pocket, making sure it was real. When she got home, her parents were waiting. They had been nervous about the mysterious meeting. They had worried it might be some kind of scam. Ji-won told them everything. She watched their faces change from confusion to shock to disbelief to hope. When she finished, her mother sat down hard on the couch like her legs would not hold her anymore. "Vin Diesel?" her father said. "The movie star?" "Yes. Wants to help us?" "Yes. Why?" "Because I saved Mr. Rodriguez, and Mr. Rodriguez is the uncle of one of his stunt coordinators." Her mother started crying. "This is too much. I do not believe it. Things like this do not happen to people like us." "He is coming here tomorrow," Ji-won said, "to see the shop. He wants to meet you both." Her father stood up and looked around their small apartment. "The shop is a mess. We need to clean. We need to organize. He does not care about that," Ji-won said. "He wants to see the real shop." He said fancy is easy. Real is harder to find. That night, Ji-won barely slept. She kept thinking about the scholarship, about finishing her degree, about actually becoming an engineer. She thought about the shop getting new equipment, about her father not having to work so hard anymore, about having steady business from movie production work. But she also worried. What if this was too good to be true? What if something went wrong? What if she was not good enough to work on movie vehicles? The next day, Ji-won and her parents cleaned the shop anyway. They swept the floors, organized the tools, wiped down the workstations. Her mother brought fresh flowers and put them on the desk in the office. Her father wore his best shirt, the one he saved for special occasions. At 2 o'clock, a black SUV pulled up in front of the shop. Vin Diesel got out, followed by 2 other men. One was Miguel, the stunt coordinator. He was tall and muscular with kind eyes. The other was Carlos Rodriguez himself, using a cane but walking on his own. Ji-won's heart jumped when she saw Mr. Rodriguez. This was the man she had saved. She had not seen him since dragging him out of the burning apartment. Carlos moved toward her slowly, his eyes filled with tears. When he reached her, he took both her hands in his. "You," he said, his voice breaking. "You are my angel. You saved my life." "I am glad you are okay," Ji-won said. "Okay. I am alive. Because of you, I am alive." He pulled her into a tight hug. Ji-won felt tears on her neck. Carlos was crying, and suddenly she was crying too. Miguel stepped forward when his uncle finally let go. "Thank you," he said simply. "Thank you for giving me back my father." Ji-won introduced her parents. Her mother and father stood nervously, not sure how to act around famous people. But Vin Diesel put them at ease immediately. He shook their hands warmly and spoke to them with genuine respect. "You raised an incredible daughter," he told them. "You should be very proud." Ji-won's father nodded, too emotional to speak. They toured the shop. Vin Diesel asked questions about everything. What equipment did they have? What did they need? How many customers did they serve per week? What were the biggest challenges? Ji-won's father answered honestly. They needed a new hydraulic lift. Their diagnostic computer was 15 years old. The air compressor broke down constantly. The building needed a new roof. The list went on. Vin Diesel and Miguel took notes. They measured spaces. They discussed what modifications would be needed to handle movie vehicle work. Miguel explained the kind of jobs they would need. Car modifications, maintenance during filming, custom work for stunts. Your shop is perfect, Miguel said. It is exactly what we need. Small enough to be personal, but with the right skills to do good work. After the tour, they all sat in the small office. It was cramped with 6 people, but no one seemed to mind. Vin Diesel pulled out his phone and showed Ji-won's father a contract his lawyers had prepared. This outlines the investment. I will provide funds to upgrade your equipment and repair the building. In return, your shop becomes a preferred vendor for our production company. We will send you work regularly. Fair pay, on time, steady business. Ji-won's father read the contract carefully. His hands shook. This is too generous, he said. Why would you do this? Because your daughter saved someone I love, Vin Diesel said. And because I believe in supporting good people. You have built something real here. You have raised a daughter who runs into burning buildings to save strangers. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. We cannot repay you, Ji-won's mother said. I do not want repayment. I want partnership. I want to know that when my team needs vehicle work, we are working with people we trust. People with integrity. That is worth more than money. He turned to Ji-won. And you. Have you thought about the scholarship? Ji-won nodded. I want to say yes. But I am scared. What if I fail? What if I cannot handle school and work at the same time? Then you try again, Vin Diesel said simply. Failure is not the end. Giving up is the end. And you do not seem like someone who gives up? I am not smart like those university students, Ji-won said quietly. I only went to community college. Miguel spoke up. I never finished high school. I got my GED while working 3 jobs. Now I coordinate stunts for major movies. Smart is not about where you start. It is about how hard you work. Carlos added, my granddaughter just graduated with an engineering degree. You know what she told me? The best students are not the naturally gifted ones. The best students are the ones who have worked hard jobs and know what real struggle is. They appreciate education because they know what life is like without it. Ji-won felt something shift inside her. These people believed in her. Really believed in her. Not because she was special or talented or gifted, but because she had shown courage. Because she worked hard. Because she cared about others. Okay, she said. Yes, I want to do this. I want to accept your help. Vin Diesel smiled. Good. Then let's make this official. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. Within minutes, she sent over enrollment information for the online university program. Ji-won would start classes in January, just 2 months away. They discussed the shop renovations. A contractor would come next week to assess what needed to be done. New equipment would be ordered. The upgrades would take about 6 weeks. Before leaving, Vin Diesel asked to take a photo with Ji-won and her parents. He took several pictures with his phone. I am going to post about this, he said. About you, about what you did. People need to hear stories like yours. Real stories about real courage. Do you have to? Ji-won asked. She still did not like attention. Yes, Vin Diesel said firmly, because your story matters. Because it might inspire someone else to be brave when it counts. 6 months passed like a dream. Ji-won stood in the newly renovated shop and could barely recognize it. The old cracked floor had been replaced with smooth, clean concrete. New LED lights hung from the ceiling, making everything bright and clear. 2 brand-new hydraulic lifts stood where the old broken one used to be. A state-of-the-art diagnostic computer sat on a clean workbench. Even the walls had been repainted, a fresh white that made the whole space feel bigger. The sign outside had been redone too. Kim's Auto Repair now included Preferred Vendor VD Productions underneath. Her father had cried when he saw it. Business was booming. The partnership with Vin Diesel's production company brought steady work. They had modified 3 vehicles for a movie being filmed in Los Angeles. They maintained a fleet of cars used for stunts. The pay was good, always on time, exactly as promised. But the best part was that Ji-won's father could finally rest. They had hired 2 full-time mechanics, both experienced and reliable. Her father still came to the shop every day, but now he supervised instead of doing the heavy work. His arthritis had not gotten worse. Some days it even seemed better. Ji-won walked to the small office, now expanded and modernized with new furniture and a proper desk. She opened her laptop and logged into her university portal. 3 classes this semester: Advanced Thermodynamics, Materials Science, and Fluid Mechanics. The work was hard, maybe the hardest thing she had ever done. She studied every night after closing the shop, sometimes until 2 in the morning, but she loved it. She loved learning again. She loved understanding the science behind the mechanical work she did every day. She loved feeling her brain stretch and grow. Her grades were good too. Not perfect, but solid B's and a few A's. Her professors praised her practical knowledge. While other students only knew theory from textbooks, Ji-won could explain how things actually worked in real life. She brought real-world problems to class discussions. Her perspective was valuable. The door to the shop opened and Mr. Rodriguez walked in. He came by at least twice a week now, always with a smile and usually with food. Today he carried a container of his famous tamales. "For my favorite mechanic," he said, setting the container on the desk. Ji-won laughed. "You're going to make me fat, Mr. Rodriguez. Call me Carlos. And you need to eat." You work too much, it was true. Ji-won worked at the shop from 8 to 6, then studied until late at night. But she did not feel tired. She felt alive. For the first time in 3 years, she had hope. She had a future that was more than just surviving day to day. Carlos sat down in the chair across from her. His ankle had healed completely. He moved without pain now. "Miguel called me yesterday," he said. "They are starting a new movie next month. Big action film. They want your shop to handle all the vehicle work." "All of it?" Ji-won's eyes widened. "That is a huge job. They trust you. Vin told Miguel you are the best mechanic they have worked with. Reliable, skilled, honest. That is worth more than anything." Ji-won felt a warmth in her chest. 6 months ago, she had been a nobody. Just a girl working in a failing shop, with no future beyond the next repair. Now she was running a successful business, studying at university and working with major movie productions. "I still cannot believe this is real sometimes," she admitted. "I keep thinking I will wake up and it will all be gone." Carlos reached across and patted her hand. "It is real. You earned it. Not because of luck, because of who you are." After Carlos left, Ji-won went back to work. A Honda needed a transmission rebuild. She put on her work gloves and got under the car. Her arms had healed completely. The scars were still there, faint pink lines on her forearms, but they did not hurt anymore. They were just reminders of that night, of the choice she made. She thought about that night often. The fear, the smoke, the heat, the sound of Carlos screaming for help. The moment of decision when she could have walked away but chose to run toward the danger instead. She did not regret it. Not even for a second. Yes, she got hurt. Yes, she was scared. But she saved a life, and that life had brought so much more than she ever imagined. That evening, Ji-won had an online class session. Her professor was lecturing about stress analysis in mechanical systems. Ji-won took notes, asked questions, participated in discussions. Other students in the online program were from all over the country. Some were recent high school graduates. Others, like her, were working adults going back to school. She had made friends in her classes. People who understood the struggle of balancing work and study. They formed study groups, video chatting late at night to work through difficult problems together. Ji-won was not alone anymore. After class, she checked her email. There was a message from the university. Her advisor wanted to talk about her progress. Ji-won felt nervous. What if something was wrong? She called the advisor the next day. Dr. Palmer was a woman in her 50s who had been an engineer for 20 years before becoming a professor. "Ji-won, I wanted to congratulate you," Dr. Palmer said. "Your work this semester has been excellent. I looked at your background. You dropped out of community college 3 years ago?" "Yes," Ji-won said. "To help my family. And now you are back, taking advanced courses, working full-time, and maintaining a 3.4 GPA. That is remarkable. I am just trying my best. Your best is very good. I wanted to discuss your future plans. Have you thought about what you want to do after graduation?" Ji-won had thought about it. "I want to keep running the shop, but I also want to design things, maybe work on automotive engineering projects. I do not want to give up either one." "You do not have to," Dr. Palmer said. "There are engineers who run their own shops and do design work. It is rare, but it is possible, especially with your practical experience. You have something most engineers never get, real-world knowledge." They talked for an hour. Dr. Palmer suggested Ji-won apply for internships with automotive companies. Summer internships that would not interfere with her shop work. She also mentioned graduate school as a possibility in the future. Ji-won had never thought that far ahead. Graduate school? That seemed impossible, but Dr. Palmer insisted it was realistic. You have the grades. You have the work ethic. And you have a story that makes you stand out. Universities want students like you. After the call, Ji-won sat quietly in the office. graduate school, an actual engineering career. These were dreams she had buried 3 years ago. Now they were rising up again, real and possible. Her mother came into the office carrying dinner. "You need to eat," she said, setting down a plate of rice and vegetables. "Mom, my advisor says I could go to graduate school." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "Of course you could. You are so smart, so hardworking. I could not do it without Vin's help, without the scholarship and the shop investment." Her mother sat down. "You know what I think? I think you earned that help. You saved a man's life. You risked everything. God saw that and rewarded you." "I do not know if I believe in God," Jiwon said. "Then believe in karma. Believe in good things coming to good people. Believe that the universe rewards courage." Her mother squeezed her hand. "I am so proud of you. Your grandfather would be proud too." 6 months passed like a dream. Jiwon stood in the newly renovated shop and could barely recognize it. The old cracked floor had been replaced with smooth, clean concrete. New LED lights hung from the ceiling, making everything bright and clear. 2 brand-new hydraulic lifts stood where the old broken one used to be. A state-of-the-art diagnostic computer sat on a clean workbench. Even the walls had been repainted, a fresh white that made the whole space feel bigger. The sign outside had been redone too. Kim's Auto Repair now included Preferred Vendor VD Productions underneath. Her father had cried when he saw it. Business was booming. The partnership with Vin Diesel's production company brought steady work. They had modified 3 vehicles for a movie being filmed in Los Angeles. They maintained a fleet of cars used for stunts. The pay was good, always on time, exactly as promised. But the best part was that Jiwon's father could finally rest. They had hired 2 full-time mechanics, both experienced and reliable. Her father still came to the shop every day, but now he supervised instead of doing the heavy work. His arthritis had not gotten worse. Some days it even seemed better. Jiwon walked to the small office, now expanded and modernized with new furniture and a proper desk. She opened her laptop and logged into her university portal. 3 classes this semester: Advanced Thermodynamics, Materials Science, and Fluid Mechanics. The work was hard, maybe the hardest thing she had ever done. She studied every night after closing the shop, sometimes until 2 in the morning, but she loved it. She loved learning again. She loved understanding the science behind the mechanical work she did every day. She loved feeling her brain stretch and grow. Her grades were good too. Not perfect, but solid B's and a few A's. Her professors praised her practical knowledge. While other students only knew theory from textbooks, Jiwon could explain how things actually worked in real life. She brought real-world problems to class discussions. Her perspective was valuable. The door to the shop opened and Mr. Rodriguez walked in. He came by at least twice a week now, always with a smile and usually with food. Today he carried a container of his famous tamales. "For my favorite mechanic," he said, setting the container on the desk. Jiwon laughed. "You're going to make me fat, Mr. Rodriguez. Call me Carlos. And you need to eat. You work too much," it was true. Jiwon worked at the shop from 8 to 6, then studied until late at night. But she did not feel tired. She felt alive. For the first time in 3 years, she had hope. She had a future that was more than just surviving day to day. Carlos sat down in the chair across from her. His ankle had healed completely. He moved without pain now. "Miguel called me yesterday," he said. "They are starting a new movie next month. Big action film. They want your shop to handle all the vehicle work." "All of it?" Jiwon's eyes widened. "That is a huge job. They trust you. Vin told Miguel you are the best mechanic they have worked with. Reliable, skilled, honest. That is worth more than anything." Jiwon felt a warmth in her chest. 6 months ago, she had been a nobody. Just a girl working in a failing shop, with no future beyond the next repair. Now she was running a successful business, studying at university and working with major movie productions. "I still cannot believe this is real sometimes," she admitted. "I keep thinking I will wake up and it will all be gone." Carlos reached across and patted her hand. "It is real. You earned it. Not because of luck, because of who you are." After Carlos left, Jiwon went back to work. A Honda needed a transmission rebuild. She put on her work gloves and got under the car. Her arms had healed completely. The scars were still there, faint pink lines on her forearms, but they did not hurt anymore. They were just reminders of that night, of the choice she made. She thought about that night often. The fear, the smoke, the heat. The sound of Carlos screaming for help. The moment of decision when she could have walked away but chose to run toward the danger instead. She did not regret it. Not even for a second. Yes, she got hurt. Yes, she was scared. But she saved a life. And that life had brought so much more than she ever imagined. That evening, Jiwon had an online class session. Her professor was lecturing about stress analysis in mechanical systems. Jiwon took notes, asked questions, participated in discussions. Other students in the online program were from all over the country. Some were recent high school graduates. Others, like her, were working adults going back to school. She had made friends in her classes. People who understood the struggle of balancing work and study. They formed study groups, video chatting late at night to work through difficult problems together. Jiwon was not alone anymore. After class, she checked her email. There was a message from the university. Her advisor wanted to talk about her progress. Jiwon felt nervous. What if something was wrong? She called the advisor the next day. Dr. Palmer was a woman in her 50s who had been an engineer for 20 years before becoming a professor. Jiwon, I wanted to congratulate you, Dr. Palmer said. Your work this semester has been excellent. I looked at your background. You dropped out of community college 3 years ago? Yes, Jiwon said. To help my family. And now you are back, taking advanced courses, working full-time, and maintaining a 3.4 GPA. That is remarkable. I am just trying my best. Your best is very good. I wanted to discuss your future plans. Have you thought about what you want to do after graduation? Jiwon had thought about it. I want to keep running the shop, but I also want to design things, maybe work on automotive engineering projects. I do not want to give up either one. You do not have to, Dr. Palmer said. There are engineers who run their own shops and do design work. It is rare, but it is possible, especially with your practical experience. You have something most engineers never get, real-world knowledge. They talked for an hour. Dr. Palmer suggested Jiwon apply for internships with automotive companies. Summer internships that would not interfere with her shop work. She also mentioned graduate school as a possibility in the future. Jiwon had never thought that far ahead. Graduate school? That seemed impossible, but Dr. Palmer insisted it was realistic. You have the grades. You have the work ethic. And you have a story that makes you stand out. Universities want students like you. After the call, Jiwon sat quietly in the office. Graduate school. An actual engineering career. These were dreams she had buried 3 years ago. Now they were rising up again, real and possible. Her mother came into the office carrying dinner. You need to eat, she said, setting down a plate of rice and vegetables. Mom, my advisor says I could go to graduate school. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. Of course you could. You are so smart. So hardworking. I could not do it without Vin's help, without the scholarship and the shop investment. Her mother sat down. You know what I think? I think you earned that help. You saved a man's life. You risked everything. God saw that and rewarded you. I do not know if I believe in God, Jiwon said. Then believe in karma. Believe in good things coming to good people. Believe that the universe rewards courage. Her mother squeezed her hand. I am so proud of you. Your grandfather would be proud too. That night, Jiwon could not sleep. She got up and went to the window. Across the street, the burned apartment building had been repaired. New people lived there now. The fire was just a memory. She thought about everything that had changed. The shop was thriving. Her parents were happy and healthy. She was in school again, chasing her dreams. And it all started with one moment of courage. Her phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. She opened it. Hi, Jiwon. This is Vin. I hope you do not mind that I got your number from Miguel. I am in LA next week and wanted to visit the shop. I heard you are crushing your classes. Proud of you, Jiwon smiled and typed back. Thank you for everything. Yes, please visit. We would love to see you. His response came quickly. You earned it. See you next week? She set the phone down and looked at her reflection in the dark window. She looked different now. Not just older but stronger, more confident. She was not just Jiwon the mechanic anymore. She was Jiwon the engineer in training. Jiwon the business owner. Jiwon the person who ran into fire to save a stranger. 1 week later, Vin Diesel visited the shop. He brought a camera crew, not for a movie but for a documentary his production company was making about everyday heroes. They wanted to feature Jiwon's story. At first, Jiwon resisted. I am not a hero. I just did what was right. That is exactly what makes you a hero, Vin said. Heroes are not people with superpowers. Heroes are ordinary people who make extraordinary choices. They filmed for several hours. Jiwon showed them the shop, talked about her work, discussed her classes. Carlos came by and told his side of the story. Miguel talked about what it meant to him that his uncle survived. Her parents shared how proud they were of their daughter. At the end of the day, Vin pulled Jiwon aside. I have something for you, he said. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a job offer. Vehicle technical consultant for the next Fast and Furious movie. Part-time work, flexible hours, good pay. She would help design and modify vehicles for the film. This is a real job? Jiwon asked. Completely real. Miguel recommended you. The production team agreed. You have the skills we need, and you understand cars in a way most people do not. Jiwon felt tears streaming down her face. She did not try to stop them. This was too much. Too perfect. 6 months ago, she was broken and burned in a hospital bed, thinking her life would never change. Now she had everything she ever wanted and more. Why do you keep helping me? She asked. Vin smiled. Because you remind me why I do what I do. My movies are about family, loyalty, and courage. You live those values every day. You do not just watch heroes on screen. You are one. I am just a mechanic, Jiwon said. No, Vin said firmly. You are a mechanic. An engineering student. A business owner. A daughter who sacrificed for her family. A hero who saved a life. You are all of those things. And you are proof that doing the right thing, even when it is hard and scary, can change everything. Jiwon looked around the shop, at her parents laughing with Carlos, at the new equipment and clean floors, at the certificate on the wall, showing her enrollment in the university engineering program, at the job offer in her hands. One moment of courage had led to all of this. One choice to run toward danger instead of away from it. She did not do it expecting anything in return. She did it because someone needed help. But the universe had returned that courage 1,000 times over. She saved one life, and somehow that act had saved her life too. It gave her back her dreams. It showed her that sacrifice and bravery mattered, that good things really did happen to good people. As the sun set over Los Angeles, Jiwon stood in the doorway of her shop and smiled. She did not know what the future held. But for the first time in years, she was excited to find out. She had her family, her education, her work, and the knowledge that she was capable of more than she ever imagined. The mechanic girl who saved a stranger had discovered something important. Sometimes saving someone else is the same as saving yourself.